In the 1,960 seconds, amid the fierce Vietnam War, Jack Thompson, a two-year-old American soldier from the small town of Dusty Plains in Texas, joined the Army. Raised in a humble farming family where his father, a World War II veteran, instilled in him patriotism and duty, Jack hoped military service would help him prove himself and escape the monotony of rural life. With his wavy blonde hair peeking out from under his soldier's cap and his determined blue eyes occasionally betraying uncertainty, Jack arrived in Vietnam with dreams of heroism. However, the harsh realities of the battlefield shattered those illusions. Long nights of guard duty in the damp jungle, the distant rumble of B-52 bombs like thunder, the crack of AK-47 seconds mixed with cries of pain, and an aching homesickness for his mother's warm apple pies kept him awake, leaving him questioning his purpose. After training at Fort Benning, Jack was deployed to a small village called Hoa Binh in central Vietnam, where the U.S. military established a temporary base to support the South Vietnamese forces against Viet Cong guerrillas. The village appeared peaceful, with lush rice paddies stretching along a gentle river, simple thatched homes with earthen walls, and the morning crow of roosters. Yet beneath this tranquility lay a simmering tension. Villagers eyed the American soldiers with suspicion, their noisy jeeps and gleaming M16s disrupting daily life. Many saw the Americans as tall foreigners, bringing bombs and destruction, though some secretly traded goods for survival. One drizzly afternoon, with gray skies hinting at an impending storm, Jack was on a routine patrol along a muddy path leading to the river. Wearing his olive-green uniform and a heavy backpack filled with rations and ammunition, he trudged through the soggy ground, lost in thought about a letter from his mother. Suddenly, he spotted a young woman harvesting vegetables by the riverbank, where thriving patches of water, spinach, and herbs grew. She was Lan, a 20-year-old daughter of the village chief, a lean but authoritative man striving to maintain peace between locals and the Americans. Lan possessed a gentle yet resilient beauty, long black hair tied neatly, large dark eyes brimming with determination, sun-tanned skin, and a rare but warm smile. She wore a simple ao ba ba with rolled-up sleeves, carefully uprooting each vegetable for her family. Distracted by his mother's letter, Jack accidentally stepped heavily onto one of Lan's freshly planted beds. The crunching sound startled her, and she snapped her head up, eyes flashing with anger. "What are you doing? This is my family's garden. Why are you trampling it?" she shouted in Vietnamese, mixed with broken English she'd picked up from old books or passing soldiers. Her voice was sharp, fueled by frustration, as the garden was her family's lifeline, nurtured through the hardships of war. Jack, catching only fragments like garden and my home, froze. Embarrassed, he lifted his foot, his face flushing beneath his cap, and stammered an apology in English. "I'm sorry, miss. I didn't see." Xin Loi. His clumsy pronunciation only irritated Lan more. She stood, hands on hips, glaring with suspicion and hostility, viewing Jack and all American soldiers as invaders bringing bombs to her homeland. "You only come to destroy. Go away." She waved him off, her voice trembling with rage. Jack felt a mix of annoyance and confusion. Back in Texas, girls always greeted him with smiles. He wasn't used to being scolded by a beautiful young woman. "She's too harsh," he thought, forcing a friendly smile that met only a cold stare. He turned to leave, but Lan's image, those intense, dark eyes, her strength blended with vulnerability, lingered in his mind. That awkward, conflict-ridden first encounter, unbeknownst to them, marked the beginning of a love story, transcending bombs and borders. In the days that followed, Jack continued his patrols around Hoa Binh village, and each time he couldn't help but notice Lan. From a distance, he observed that she was more than just a diligent vegetable picker. She played a vital role in the community. During the day, she carried water for the elderly, taught children to read and write under the ancient banyan tree, and even bandaged wounds for those injured in nearby skirmishes. The tattered books she used, mostly Old English or French texts from the colonial era, revealed her thirst for knowledge beyond the war-torn context. Jack overheard that Lan had once dreamed of becoming a teacher, but the conflict stole that opportunity, leaving her to care for her family after her older brother's death in a battle. This resilience in her gaze, especially when she looked toward the American soldiers, intrigued him. With his naturally friendly disposition, Jack decided to bridge the gap with Lan. One afternoon, he brought a few chocolate bars from his rations, thinking the village children might enjoy them, and coincidentally found Lan teaching a class. Under the banyan tree, the children's voices chanted letters, and Lan stood among them, pointing at a makeshift blackboard with a bamboo stick. Jack approached with a smile, offering the chocolate. "Here, for the kids. I think they'll like it." He spoke slowly, hoping she'd understand. But Lan looked up, her gaze as sharp as a blade. She pushed his hand away forcefully. "We don't need handouts from American soldiers. You only bring bombs, not food." Her voice quivered with anger, triggered by memories of her brother's death in an American airstrike the previous year. That pain still bled fresh, and Jack, unwittingly, had touched a raw nerve. Jack stood stunned, unsure how to respond. He'd only meant to help. Why such a harsh rejection? "I didn't mean it like that," he mumbled, but Lan had already turned back to her students, ignoring him. Back at the barracks, he recounted the incident to his comrades. They burst into laughter. "Are you crazy, Jack? The locals hate us, don't waste your effort," another soldier teased. "Trying to woo a Vietnamese girl? Give it up. They just want us gone." The mockery irritated Jack, but it also opened his eyes. Lan's hostility wasn't personal, it reflected a community scarred by war. This realization sparked an unusual resolve, to learn Vietnamese to better understand her. Jack rummaged through his gear for a basic Vietnamese phrasebook issued to soldiers for communication with locals. He diligently practiced simple phrases like "Xin Chao," "Hello," "Kam Un," "Thank you," and "Toi La Jack," "I am Jack." His pronunciation was clumsy, filled with errors, but he persisted. A week later, during another patrol, he spotted Lan washing vegetables by the river. Taking a deep breath, Jack approached, bowed slightly, and greeted her. "Xin Chao, Toi La Jack." Lan turned, surprised by his effort. She didn't reply, only gave him a sidelong glance before resuming her task, but inwardly, curiosity stirred. This American soldier differed from the rude, drunken ones who sometimes stumbled through the village. Jack's persistence planted a seed of doubt in Lan and a faint hope that not all Americans were as she'd assumed. Their conflict remained, yet it also set the stage for an unexpected shift. The tension between Jack and Lan, already strained, escalated with an unexpected incident that pushed their conflict to a breaking point. One rainy evening, Jack and his squad received intelligence about a Viet Cong guerrilla group hiding near Hoa Binh village, planning an attack on the American base. Under orders from their commander, Jack and his team launched a nighttime patrol. In the thick darkness, their flashlight beams pierced the foliage, revealing footprints and hushed voices near the rice paddies. With little time to verify, the commander called for an airstrike to neutralize the threat. The roar of B-52 bombers echoed from afar, and within minutes, massive bombs rained down, shaking the earth. Dust and smoke filled the air, and when Jack looked back, he was horrified to see that part of the rice fields vital to the villagers' survival had been obliterated, including the vegetable garden belonging to Lan's family. The next morning, as the rain subsided, Lan rushed to the American base, her eyes red and swollen, her face streaked with tears. Wearing a tattered ao ba ba, she clutched a bundle of salvaged vegetables, storming straight toward Jack, who was on guard duty at the gate. "You've destroyed everything. My brother died from American bombs, and now you've ruined our garden," she screamed, her voice breaking with anguish. Jack, still haunted by the previous night's destruction, tried to explain. "I'm sorry, Lan. It was to protect the village. There were guerrillas there. We didn't want this." But his words were drowned out by her sobs. She shoved him hard, her trembling hands pushing against his chest. "You lie. You only bring death." The loss of her brother, and now her family's livelihood, overwhelmed her. Jack stood frozen, overwhelmed by guilt, though he hadn't directly ordered the strike. The incident gnawed at Jack's conscience, robbing him of sleep. He requested permission from his commander to visit the village and apologize while helping with the aftermath. When he arrived at Lan's home, he found her sitting amid the devastated garden, holding a hoe but too exhausted to dig. The once lush vegetable beds were now scorched earth and withered roots. "I'm sorry," Jack said softly, setting down his backpack and taking the hoe from her. He began digging, attempting to restore part of the garden. At first, Lan pushed him away, shouting, "Go away. I don't need your help." But Jack didn't give up. Under the blazing midday sun, sweat poured down his face as he worked tirelessly. Witnessing his sincerity, Lan's resolve softened. She sat beside him, silently sharing the story of her brother, a local soldier killed in an airstrike the previous year, leaving her family in grief. Jack listened, his eyes somber, and opened up about his own family in Texas, including his father's war wounds and love for peace. They worked together through the afternoon, the only sounds being the clink of tools and the rustle of wind. As the sun set, Lan looked at Jack and murmured, "Thank you, though I haven't forgiven you yet." Jack nodded. "I understand. I'll try harder." Their conflict hadn't dissolved, but that moment planted the seeds of understanding, marking the first turning point in their tumultuous relationship. After the garden incident, Jack began spending more time on patrols around Hoa Bin village, not just for duty but also to see Lan again. He realized she wasn't merely an angry girl but a woman deeply committed to her community. On his rounds, he'd see her fetching water for the elderly, teaching children under the banyan tree with worn-out books, and occasionally assisting a local doctor with the wounded from nearby clashes. Jack sensed a quiet strength in her gaze, though he sometimes caught a flicker of sadness when she looked at the ruined fields. To build rapport and bridge their divide, Jack brought small items from his military rations, pencils, paper, and old comic books, as gifts for the school where Lan taught, hoping these gestures might win her over. One afternoon, as the sun dipped westward, Jack carried a bag of supplies to where Lan was conducting a lesson. The children's voices chanted letters under the banyan tree, and Lan stood among them, pointing at a wooden blackboard with a bamboo stick. Jack smiled, set the bag down, and said, "Here, for the kids. Pencils and books, so they can learn better." Lan looked at him, her eyes still wary. "Are you doing this to atone for your sins?" she asked sarcastically, recalling the airstrike. Jack shook his head. "No, I just want to help. War is hard for everyone." His sincerity gave her pause. She accepted the bag, distributing its contents to the children, who beamed at the rare treats. This warmed Jack's heart. Though Lan maintained her distance, gradually their conversations grew. By the riverbank or under the tree, Jack shared stories of Texas growing up amid vast dairy fields, the annual rodeo festivals with laughter and the scent of grilled meat. He described cozy evenings by the fireplace with his mother singing old folk songs. Lan listened, her eyes lighting up with curiosity, then began sharing Vietnamese culture. She taught him proper greetings, how to say thank you in her local dialect, and even invited him to try a bowl of pho she cooked from garden herbs and scarce pork. Jack devoured it, praising its flavor despite the spice burning his tongue, making Lan laugh, her first smile he'd seen. Yet conflict persisted. One afternoon, while passing through the village, Jack spotted Lan chatting closely with a young man in a simple brown shirt. He recognized Nam, a neighbor's son who often helped her repair her home after bombings. Jealousy flared unexpectedly in Jack, though he didn't understand why. "Who's he? A gorilla?" he asked bluntly, his tone edged with suspicion. Lan whirled around, furious. "Do you think everyone's your enemy? He's my friend, helping me fix my house." She stormed off, leaving Jack regretful of his harsh words. That night, he wrote an apology letter in clumsy Vietnamese. "Lan, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to upset you." He asked a child to deliver it. The next day, by the river, Lan read it and offered a faint smile, her first sign of warmth toward him. They began reconciling through shared activities. Jack taught Lan to swim in the shallow river, chuckling as she nearly sank due to her unfamiliarity with deep water. In return, she showed him how to fish with a homemade rod, and they laughed when he caught a tiny fish. These moments stirred their hearts, though war remained a formidable barrier. Jack began dreaming of a peaceful day when he might take Lan to Texas, while Lan silently hoped for a future free of loss. The conflict in central Vietnam intensified by 1967, with relentless clashes between U.S. forces and Viet Cong. Jack, now accustomed to life at the Hoa Binh base, took on more patrols and aid missions for the villagers. However, a fateful day arrived when he was thrust into a major battle near the village. While his squad swept a dense forest suspected of harboring guerrillas, they were ambushed. Gunfire erupted, bullets whizzing past, and Jack took a small shrapnel hit to his left leg. The wound wasn't life-threatening, but the blood loss was significant, requiring evacuation to the base for treatment. As he lay on the stretcher, his thoughts fixated on Lan, anxious about her safety amid the encroaching war. While recovering at the medical station, news reached Jack of an attack on Hoa Binh village. A guerrilla unit had struck, destroying several homes and injuring many residents. Fear for Lan drove him, despite his injured leg, to secretly request leave from his commander. Using a makeshift staff carved from a branch, he limped through a light rain toward the village, his heart heavy with worry. Upon arrival, the scene shocked him. Smoldering houses, panicked villagers, and Lan kneeling beside an elderly woman, deftly bandaging a wound with torn cloth. Seeing Jack, Lan exclaimed, "You're injured and still came here? Go back." Yet her tone carried concern, lacking its former sharpness. Jack shook his head, dropped his backpack, and assisted Lan in distributing water to the wounded. "I was worried about you," he said simply, his voice hoarse from exhaustion. For the first time, Lan felt his genuine care. After hours of helping, as the situation stabilized, she pulled him into a corner of a surviving hut to escape the rain. She wiped the blood still clinging to his leg, her eyes red. "You're a fool, you know. Why take such a risk?" Jack smiled weakly. "Because you matter to me." In that moment, Lan impulsively hugged him, tears falling. "Thank you." That first embrace shattered their barriers, if only briefly. Conflict resurfaced when Jack revealed his upcoming transfer to a southern unit. "You'll leave, abandoning us with this wreckage?" Lan accused, her voice trembling. Jack took her hands, explaining, I don't want this war, Lan, but I'm a soldier, I must follow orders. I'll come back. His promise didn't calm her anger. She pulled away, shouting, You come and go, leaving pain behind. Go, I don't need you. Jack left heartbroken, watching her run inside. Back at the base, with his leg aching, he began a journal, describing Lan as the strongest woman he'd met, with eyes holding both sorrow and hope. A week later, while Jack packed gloomily, a child delivered a hand-embroidered lotus handkerchief with Lan's note. Be careful, Jack. He clutched it, feeling warmth return. They started exchanging letters, Lan writing about village life and war fears, Jack sharing dreams of peace and growing affection. Each letter bridged their divide, easing conflicts and fostering a deeper bond between two souls from different worlds. The rainy season of 1968 swept over central Vietnam, turning the rice fields and dirt paths around Hoa Binh village into a vast, murky flood. Water rose to knee level, homes tilted precariously, and villagers fled to higher ground to escape the deluge. Jack, though transferred to a southern unit, never forgot Lan. He frequently requested leave to return, bringing updates and concern. Upon hearing of the flooding's devastation, he persuaded his commander to send aid, canned food, medicine, and blankets from military stores. With reluctant approval, Jack volunteered to lead the relief team, wading through deep water to reach the village, determined to help and reunite with Lan. Upon arrival, the sight broke his heart. Collapsed, thatched roofs, crying children from hunger, and exhausted adults salvaging remnants. He spotted Lan struggling through the flood, clutching the last bundle of vegetables to share with neighbors. Seeing Jack soaked and carrying aid, she rushed over, her expression a mix of surprise and worry. You came again? Are you insane? She asked, but her voice softened, seeing him shiver. Lan pulled him into her family's remaining hut, where only a small fire flickered. She dried his hair with a cloth while he distributed supplies. They sat by the fire all night, warming themselves and talking. Jack shared his post-war dream, returning to the Texas farm, living peacefully with family, and perhaps starting one of his own with someone he loved. He painted pictures of evenings on the porch, listening to crickets and smelling dry grass. Lan listened, her eyes glistening, then confided her fears. I'm scared of losing more family, of this village disappearing. War took my brother, now floods do this. Her voice choked, but she whispered, I hate war, but it brought me you. Moved, Jack took her hand. Me too, Lan. You're my light in this darkness. That moment deepened their love, despite war's looming shadow. The next morning, a loud explosion from the nearby forest, possibly a leftover mine or bomb, shattered the calm. Villagers' screams sent Lan into a panic. She pushed Jack away, crying, You're an American soldier, you bring death. Past traumas resurfaced, and she rushed to help others. Jack stood still, hurt but understanding. He took a short leave to reflect on their relationship. During this time, he studied more Vietnamese, crafting poetry in the language. Upon returning, he recited his work. You're like my homeland's river, washing away my sorrow, bringing dawn's light. Lan stood silent, tears falling, then hugged him. They met secretly by the river, sharing their first kiss under the rain. Love overcoming conflict and fear. By 1969, Jack and Lan's love deepened, even as the war raged on, with rare, peaceful moments allowing them to cherish each other more. They met secretly more often, usually in the late afternoons, when the golden sunlight filtered through the green canopy around Hoa Binh village. Jack taught Lan the waltz, a romantic dance he'd learned in high school in Texas on a grassy patch by the river, though they often stumbled, laughing as Lan struggled with the intricate steps. In return, Lan taught Jack to cook can chua ca lok, a Vietnamese specialty, using simple ingredients like water, spinach, tomatoes, and scarce spices from her garden. They chuckled when Jack burned the broth, and Lan teased that he wasn't cut out to be a cook. These moments became sweet memories, briefly eclipsing the distant gunfire. They began dreaming of a post-war future. Jack envisioned bringing Lan to Texas, building a small house near his family's farm, with a garden for her to tend, and evenings filled with country music. Lan imagined a new school in the village, where she could teach without fear of bombs. And perhaps one day, they'd have children to tell about their cross-border love story. However, their secret relationship couldn't escape notice. One day, Jack's commander caught wind of his frequent unauthorized departures. He summoned Jack to his office, sternly warning, "Thompson, I know you're involved with the locals. It's dangerous for you and the unit. Stop it now." Jack nodded, but his heart refused to let Lan go. Meanwhile, Lan faced pressure at home. Her father, Mr. Hung, the village chief, and a former anti-French soldier, discovered his daughter's meetings with an American soldier. He called her inside, slamming the table in rage. "How dare you consort with the enemy? Your brother died from American bombs, and now you do this?" Lan tried to explain. "Father, he's not what you think. He's good to me and the village." But Mr. Hung wouldn't listen, forbidding her from seeing Jack and threatening to disown her if she persisted. This family conflict tore at Lan's heart. Her love for Jack clashed with her duty to her family, leaving her crying silently each night. Jack, too, wrestled internally. He loved Lan, but military orders demanded distance. A turning point came when Jack narrowly escaped death in an ambush. His squad was surrounded in the forest, and a bullet grazed his shoulder, soaking his uniform with blood. His comrades rushed him to the base, but word spread to the village. Lan, unable to stay away, ran to the medical station, sobbing at the sight of him on the bed. "I'm scared of losing you," she whispered, holding his hand. Jack awoke, smiling weakly. "I'll live for you." Afterward, they decided to go public with their love. Jack requested to meet Mr. Hung, bringing a rare bottle of foreign liquor as a gift. "Sir, I love your daughter and will protect her with my life. I don't want war, only peace with Lan," he said earnestly. Mr. Hung remained silent, his gaze cold, but seeing Lan's tears and Jack's resolve, he relented. They spent time together, Jack giving Lan a silver ring from America with a marriage promise, while Lan sewed him a shirt. Love triumphed over conflict, becoming their strength. The Vietnam War escalated in 1970 with fierce clashes between U.S. forces and Viet Cong, especially in the Mekong Delta where Jack was stationed. His unit received orders for a major operation to clear guerrilla bases along the river. Before departing, Jack seized a chance to meet Lan by the Hoa Binh River, their usual secret rendezvous spot. He held her hands, his eyes filled with concern. "I have to go, Lan, but promise me you'll wait for me." Lan clung to him, tears streaming down her face. "You must come back safely, Jack. I can't lose you like I lost my brother." They shared a long kiss, as if etching the moment into memory before parting. Jack tucked Lan's embroidered lotus handkerchief around his neck, a silent vow to return. During the operation, Jack's squad faced their most brutal battle yet. Ambushed in the jungle, bullets flew like rain, and smoke choked the air. Leading his team, Jack triggered a hidden booby trap. The explosion sent shrapnel into his thigh and shoulder, blood gushing uncontrollably. His comrades dragged him to safety, and a helicopter evacuated him to a rear medical station in Saigon. News of the incident spread quickly, and Lan, despite her father's prohibition, learned of it from an American soldier friend of Jack's. Unable to stay put, she risked the perilous journey, navigating bomb-riddled roads and strict checkpoints to reach the military hospital. Upon arrival, Lan found Jack motionless on a bed, his face pale, his body wrapped in bandages. She rushed to him, sobbing, "Jack, don't leave me. I've lost too much. I can't lose you too." Nurses tried to console her, but she stayed by his side, clutching his hand in prayer. Hours later, Jack stirred awake, seeing Lan. He whispered faintly, "You're why I'm alive, Lan." They embraced, tears mingling, forgetting their initial conflicts. That moment revived their love, transcending fear and pain. After partial recovery, Jack received extended leave to recuperate. He took Lan on a stroll through Saigon, a bustling yet war-scarred city with crumbling buildings and scattered refugees. They enjoyed ice cream at a small shop, laughing when Jack dropped his cone due to a shaky hand. They discussed the future. Jack dreamed of taking Lan to Texas, where he'd leave the army to farm, while Lan hoped to study and become a proper teacher. But harsh realities loomed. Visa issues for Lan were nearly impossible amid the war, and Jack's family might oppose their union. Once, Lan burst out, "I don't want to leave my homeland, Jack. My village needs me." Jack hugged her, soothing, "We'll build together, here or in America, as long as we're together." Eventually, they reconciled, choosing to live fully in the present, their love growing stronger against challenges. In 1970, as the Paris Peace Accords began offering hope of ending the war, Vietnam's atmosphere grew tense yet hopeful. Jack, now a sergeant after recovering from his injuries, saw a chance to build a future with Lan. He often requested leave to visit Hoa Binh village, bringing small gifts like pencils, books, and occasional food from the base. One evening by the river, as the sunset painted the water red, Jack knelt before Lan, taking her hands. "Lan, I want to marry you before the war ends. I promise to protect you forever." Moved, Lan's eyes welled up. "I want that too, Jack, but my father won't agree." Still, she nodded, and they planned a simple wedding in the village. Their plans hit a major obstacle from Lan's family. Mr. Hung, her father, erupted in fury upon hearing his daughter intended to marry an American soldier. He summoned her inside, slamming the table. "You dare shame our family? Your brother died from American bombs, and now you marry the enemy?" Lan pleaded, "Father, Jack isn't the enemy. He loves me and has helped the village many times." But Mr. Hung refused to listen, banning her from seeing Jack and threatening disownment if she persisted. This family conflict tore at Lan, leaving her crying silently each night, though her love for Jack gave her strength to persevere. Jack didn't give up. He requested extended leave and brought a rare bottle of foreign liquor, a precious gift from America, to meet Mr. Hung. Before the village chief and a few witnesses, Jack bowed. "Sir, I know the past between our peoples is painful, but I love your daughter and will protect her with my life. I seek peace with Lan, not war." Mr. Hung fell silent, his gaze icy, but seeing Lan's tears and Jack's earnestness, he softened. After hours of debate, he relented. "I permit it, but if you hurt her, I won't forgive you." Lan hugged her father, thanking him through tears. They held a modest wedding under the village banyan tree, attended by a few of Jack's soldier friends and Hoa Binh villagers. Jack wore his crisp uniform, while Lan donned a white ao dai embroidered with lotus flowers, her own handmade gift. The ceremony was brief, with Mr. Hung's reluctant blessing and children's laughter. Under the tree, they kissed, sealing a love that defied hatred. But the war wasn't over. After the wedding, Jack returned to his unit, leaving Lon with a promise. "I'll write every day." Lon watched him go, her heart heavy yet hopeful. Their final conflicts dissolved, leaving only pure love between them. The Vietnam War officially ended on the 30th of April 1975 with the fall of Saigon and full implementation of the Paris Accords. This news reached Jack as he worked at a final U.S. base in the South, preparing to withdraw. After years of service, he was discharged as a sergeant, carrying both physical scars and emotional wounds. Yet his heart remained with Lan, his secretly wedded wife from Hoa Binh village. During their separation, Jack wrote tirelessly, sending letters through diplomatic channels and soldier friends still in Vietnam, though delivery wasn't always guaranteed. He dreamed of reunion, but post-war realities posed challenges. Closed borders, disrupted transport, and political instability made bringing Lan to America a daunting task. Jack returned to Texas, living in his family's weathered farmstead with his aging parents. His father, Mr. Thompson, initially opposed the relationship, calling it a war mistake, but his kind-hearted mother encouraged patience. Jack worked relentlessly, submitting visa applications for Lan through the U.S. Embassy in Thailand, where Vietnamese refugees were gathering. He also learned to cook pho and planted Vietnamese herbs in his garden, hoping to create a piece of her homeland. Meanwhile, Lan stayed in Hoa Binh, facing post-war hardships, failed crops, family scarcity, and community judgment for marrying an American soldier. Yet she held firm, awaiting Jack's letters as her lifeline. After 2 years of persistence, in the spring of 1977, Lan's visa was approved with help from a humanitarian group. Jack flew to Bangkok, where Lan had escaped by a perilous small boat, to welcome her. On the 15th of May 1977, at Texas International Airport, Jack waited with a bouquet of carnations, Lan's favorite flowers. Seeing her emerge, thin but with bright eyes, he rushed to embrace her. "I've waited so long for you, Lan." Lan sobbed. "Me too, Jack. I thought I'd never see you again." They remarried in a small American ceremony at the farm, attended by Jack's family and a few veteran friends. They built a new life in Texas. Jack farmed wheat and raised cattle, while Lan studied to become a Vietnamese language teacher locally. They had 2 children, a boy and a girl, teaching them about both cultures and sharing their wartime love story. Reflecting on their journey from initial conflict to enduring love, they felt grateful for fate. One moonlit evening, Lan held Jack's hand. "I once hated you, but now I love you most in my life." Jack smiled, hugging her. "And I do too. We're proof of peace." Their story spread, becoming a symbol of love transcending all barriers.